Welcome to my podcast. Today is Wednesday, January 29th, and you are going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot in this video. This will probably be one of the most educational videos that I put out on this channel. So, first, let's go with the outer inspection when you're going to buy a car. You want the tires to be really good. You want some nice meat on the tires. If the tires are worn on either the left or right side, that would mean that possibly the car can need a wheel alignment or possibly bushings or some front end work. So right off the bat, you want to take a look at the tires to make sure that the tires are not worn in a specific area. I know what you're thinking. Oh, that was easy. Not really. That's something that people overlook at times, especially when they see a beautiful car that they really, really want. It can be overlooked. So take that to the bank. Another way on how to check a car to see if it is very dependable and you don't have to invest a lot of money in it is by looking underneath the car. Yes, you have to get on your stomach and you have to look underneath the car. Why? Because usually leaks consist even after the car is turned off. A really bad leak will consist. And there is all types of leaks. You have oil leaks, you have antifreeze leaks, you got power steering leaks, you have transmission leaks. Those are the 4 leaks that you're going to have underneath that car. If that car is leaking, I would not buy it. That's not a great car. If it has a little bit of an oil leak, maybe, but still no. So, because if you don't know anything about cars, I would not buy that car. Now, that's how you look to see if it has any leaks. So then what you do, sometimes it could take a 2-man operation, but it could be a 1. So what you do is you get into the car and you turn the ignition. But as you turn the ignition, don't listen to the motor. You listen to the motor, but don't just listen to the motor to see how the motor turns. First, it should be just a real strong turnover. But what you really want to do is look in your rear view mirror while you turn the ignition to see if the car is going to let out smoke. Because sometimes cars only let out smoke when it first starts up. If it lets out smoke when it first starts up, that means you have a bad gasket. Oil is leaking onto the cylinder heads, and you don't want to buy the car because it possibly could be a bad motor if there's a lot of smoke coming from the rear of the car. Another tip to do is you want to turn on the headlights. Make sure both headlights and tail lights work, as well as the windshield wipers. You want to make sure the windshield wipers work. Once you press the brakes, you make sure the brake lights work. And last but not least, now your headlights work, your windshield wipers work, your brake lights work. These things are all very, very important, because that means that your electrical system is working in the car. So now that all of these things are working very, very well, the next thing that you want to do is see if, let me think, you did your electrical, you did your basically kind of like the plumbing in the car. Okay, so now the car's turned on, right? It's running. Now you want to see if the car is going to reach the proper temperature. All right. Now, the car should be running, it shouldn't be running way too hot. You got to wait for the thermostat to open up. If the car overheats, in other words, if that temperature gauge, if that needle goes all the way to hot, I mean red hot, you can't buy the car. The motor is overheating. The fan should cut on in order to cool the car off. So you should be waiting for, if it's an electrical fan, you should be waiting for the fan to cut on. When the motor is running, it should sound kind of, imagine an airplane motor. Like an airplane motor is a fine tuned motor, engine, whatever. You want to listen to it and listen to the tapping, listen to it. It shouldn't be any loud tapping at all. There should be no hesitation. There should be a beautiful rhythm underneath the hood. Um, Now, also, there's other signs to look at. You can look at the driver's seat to see how well is it kept. Did the person keep up with the driver's seat? Sometimes the driver's seat explains how the person kept up with the rest of the car. Underneath the hood kept up well? Or is it just left with a lot of dust and other things? That's also important too, because maybe the salesman's trying to show you something. If the salesman did not clean underneath the hood or maybe didn't vacuum on the floor, I wouldn't buy the car, because there might be something he's trying to show you or not show you. Sometimes those are decoys for something greater. Um, okay, so I went over the electrical. You can let the car run. Now, once the thermostat opens up and the car keeps a very cool temperature, most likely you will not have to worry about an antifreeze leak now, but you are checking for leaks. You're going to look at all your hoses, make sure they're intact, make sure there's no leaks coming from the radiator. Just let it run, right? Now, it would be great if they can have you take it for a test drive. If you are able to take it for a test drive, which most people are, but in my Buick Century, um, I wasn't. That's when I was younger. I did not, but I bought the car and it ran great. But anyway, when you're able to take the car for a test drive, when you press the acceleration, it should just go. There shouldn't be any type of hesitation or anything like that. The brakes should be promptly on stop. If you hear squeaking at the beginning of when pressing the brake pedals, that could just mean that it was sitting for a moment. But if you consistently hear a very loud screeching noise as you're pressing the brakes, well, that is not brake dust. That means that the brakes need to be changed, and that's the warning system for the brakes saying that the brakes need to be changed. Other than that, there's ways to tell if the transmission is bad. Besides taking it on the highway or going up a hill, you can also tell by the way the transmission stick smells. If the transmission stick smells bad, you want to not drive the car. In other words, there's a burnt smell or a metallic smell on the transmission stick. That means that the transmission is not good. Another way to tell, you can look at the oil, check your oil. This is before you get in your car. I should have told you about this, but check the oil. Make sure the oil levels at the proper level. See how clean the oil is in the vehicle as well as the transmission. The transmission on most cars can only be checked when the engine's hot. It does have a hot and cold indicator, but it's best to check it on both. So when you first go to the car, I'm sorry I skipped that part. You really want to check the levels of the fluids. Specifically, see how the overflow is on your antifreeze. See how the overflow is on the antifreeze. That's one. See how the oil stick is reading. If the oil should be clean. Oil's not supposed to be black. It should be clean, almost so you can't even see it. If the oil looks like that, that means that the car has a fresh oil changed. And last but not least, you could smell the transmission stick to see if the transmission is going or not. Once you do all these things, there's other things that you can do too. You can look underneath the undercarriage of the vehicle to see if there's any what we call cancer in the car. It's like rust. If there's an enormous amount of rust underneath the vehicle, then that means it had salt damage, and you may want to check mainly the chassis, because I've been through this. If it has an enormous amount of rust or a lot of rust, check the chassis of the vehicle. If the chassis of the vehicle is super rusted, don't buy the vehicle. It's really nice to have someone drive in the back. if you feel any wobbling on the vehicle, like let's say there's a little wobble, that means that one of the rims could have been bent, possibly the rear ended, and you could have some rear end issues. Don't buy the vehicle. But there's so many other things that those are the main things actually that you can look forward when buying a used vehicle with high mileage. Um, yeah, that's it. You can also look at the car's history on Carfax and different things like that. But most importantly, talk to people about people that may have previously owned the car, because there are some recalls or certain things that goes wrong with those cars, whatever the case may be, after a certain amount of mileage. And some cars have the same issue. They all have the same issue. It's just the way it is. After so many miles, certain issues just pop up, and a lot of them are very similar. So, um, yeah, yeah, I think that's about it. I think we just went over the entire vehicle. We went over the front lights, the brake lights, check your high beams, check to see if it even shoots out water. Now, here's how you bargain with the person. If there is something small, like let's say the windshield wiper fluid is low and it's not shooting out windshield wiper fluid, and you put the windshield wiper fluid in there and it's not really doing anything, but you still want the car because the car is working great and it's a really strong car, you could ask for a discount. If you can always ask for a discount, always bargain with the person. What you're doing is you're inspecting the vehicle, but you're also looking for, if you're willing to tolerate the actual, if in other words, if you're really willing to fix whatever's wrong with the car and you want to buy it anyway and you think you can handle it, that's where you are able to bargain with the actual person that's selling you the car. So, but that's it. Thank you for listening and staying tuned in to Hot Rods and Horsepower. That's how you can buy a very good, dependable, high mileage vehicle. I would enter into it very cautiously after you have inspected all of the things that I've talked about. Sometimes it's good to back away and think about it, because I went over most likely about a good 20 different things that are very important. And sometimes those things get skipped, and if you don't have a checklist and different things like that. So you just want to do your best to inspect the vehicle, because obviously it's a vehicle is a great investment. So, but on that note, that's about it for this video. Thank you for listening, watching, and talk to you soon. Peace.